You're watching News at Prime. Let's get into this discussion now. Former Palestinian Foreign Minister Nasser al-Kidwa and the former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert recently published an article calling for peace in the Middle East as tensions continue to escalate. The two are proposing a plan that removes the old city of Jerusalem, which is the center of the religious sites, from the exclusive sovereign control of Israel and Palestine. Now, tomorrow marks a year since Hamas fighters launched a surprise attack on southern Israel, killing over 1,000 people. The former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert joins me now from Tel Aviv. Prime Minister, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. Can I begin with the anniversary tomorrow that will be marking the first since those surprise attacks on Israel? If you had the opportunity to talk to your successor, given the current situation, what would you say to him?
You mean if I had a chance to talk to Netanyahu?
Indeed.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure that I'm particularly anxious to talk to him. I think that he has to resign as soon as possible. He is definitely responsible. I don't relieve Hamas, this murderous organization made of murders of the worst possible kind, from their responsibility to the terrible massacre that took place. But Netanyahu was the Prime Minister of the State of Israel, and he was the one that flirted with Hamas and with Ehud, and therefore he had to resign right away, and there is nothing that I wanted to share with him and talk with him. Talk to his successor, not to him.
Yeah. Let's talk about your proposal.
Yeah.
You and the former Palestinian Foreign Minister, you are emphasizing the importance of a two-state solution. And you talk about Netanyahu. This is something that I think he recently poured cold water on. But you are suggesting this two-state solution based on the 1967 borders. How do you believe this can get support in the region right now, particularly between Israel and Palestine, given the current tensions?
Look, actually, definitely at this point in life, had you made a poll asking the Israelis or the Palestinians how much they support a two-state solution, probably majority will be against it. But what I have to say to the Israelis, because first and foremost, I speak to my own people, and to the international community, I say, let's assume, for the sake of our discussion today, that Israel within a month or 2 months will destroy completely Hamas. There will not be one left alive. All of the Hamas people will be eliminated, and Yahya Sinwar, the big leader of Hamas, will have been executed as well. Then what? We are still left with 6 million Palestinians. And the question that we have to ask ourselves, how much longer do we want to continue to be occupiers of 6 million people? Is it possible? Is it worth it? Is it not something that we can't afford morally, fundamentally morally, and practically to carry on? So at some point, sooner than later, Israelis will have to cope with the need to do something so that the war that we have been through now, which was a terrible war, primarily as a result of the atrocious attack by Hamas. But how can we make sure that it will not happen again? How can we try to prevent it? I think that what we have to do, we have to look for a compromise, which will be very painful. Painful for us, and I guess painful for the Palestinians. But we have to do something different.
Yeah.
And what I think is we Israelis are not supposed to deny the Palestinians from their right for self-determination, for independence in their own sovereign state. So I am amongst those who believe that all of the West Bank was historically part of the history of the Jewish people and of our prayers and our yearnings and whatnot. But if you want to achieve something to the future, you have to be able to concede what you think is your historical right for something which is your historic future. And that's what I want to achieve, and that's what Dr. Kidwa, of course, he comes from an entirely different background. He is a Palestinian. He believes in the ethos of the Palestinians. And I don't have to agree with it in order to share with him the desire for a different future.
Yeah.
A different future which is based on a fundamental respect for human rights and civil rights and political rights of both Palestinians and Jews. And the only way to do it is to have a solution on a two-state basis with a Palestinian state alongside the state of Israel, and with the religious sites, including the holy old city of Jerusalem, as not part of any sovereignty, not Israeli, not Palestinian, but administered by 5 nations. Of course, Palestine and Israel are part of these 5 nations, authorized by the UN Security Council, so that all the believers will have free access to all the religious places, the Muslims, the Christians, and Jews, and that we will be able to live alongside each other, and that the Arab part of Jerusalem will be the capital of the Palestinian state. Of course, the Jewish part will continue to be the capital of the Jewish state.
Yeah.
And this is how we have to live together.
Well, you talk about a compromise, and also you talk about living side by side, the Israelis and Palestinian people. That is something that has been spoken about for many, many years, but it simply has not been achieved. What do you believe are the obstacles, not only to the Palestinians and Israelis living side by side, but perhaps even your plan getting any support?
Look, had it been popular now, you wouldn't be interviewing me, and no one will be interested in something that is shared by all. Problem is that it's not, and therefore we have to fight in order to achieve it, and that's what we're trying to do. We try to achieve something that is perhaps now unpopular and unacceptable to many because of the history and because of what happened so many times in so many years, but particularly because of the terrible, painful circumstances of last year.
Yeah.
But the question is, are we going to be obsessed forever by these painful memories of the past, or are we going to try and overcome it, not remember, not forget anything, not forgive those who are not worthy of forgiveness, but pushing forward for a different future? There are millions of Jews living here. There are millions of Palestinians living here. Both deserve to live honorably, with respect, with stability, without wars, with all the opportunities for worthy life. And this is something that we need to do it, and we need to do it together. I tried to do it in 2008. I tried to do it. I proposed the then President of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, this peace plan, by the way. What we have agreed, Dr. Kidwa and myself, is on the basis of the peace plan that I presented to the President of the Palestinian Authority in 2008. And unfortunately, he didn't have the courage or the leadership to say yes. He never said no, but he never said yes.
Yeah.
And this is what we share together now, and we are going to work everywhere we can. We will come to South Africa as well to speak with the South African leaders and try to line them up to an international gathering of world leaders that will move forward in this direction with us.
All right, very briefly on these last 2 questions I'm about to ask you now. Your article talks about international support in order for your plan to gain some traction. Can I turn this international support on its head and ask about the current situation right now and the support that Israel is getting from the United States. Do you believe that the United States is doing the right thing by giving not only arms to Israel, but political support as well?
Solly, let me ask you a question, just between you and me, so that no one will know. Has South Africa been attacked by another country from a distance with 200 ballistic missiles, each with a warhead of 1,000 kilos that could have killed thousands? Would you not expect to be helped? Is it so outrageous to understand why America wants to help Israel? What do we have with Iran that they are shooting 200 ballistic missiles towards Israel, which could have killed tens of thousands of people had Israel not had the most sophisticated air defense system with all the technologies that we have developed, and with the Arrow 3 missile that can intercept all these missiles. Yeah. But it's not enough. We need also help. So the Americans gave Israel help for that purpose only. And also, look, America supports the state of Israel. America is not enthusiastic, and I'm not sure that it is very supportive of the government of Israel. Two different things. Government of Israel and the state of Israel. I don't support the government of Israel. I'm against the government of Israel. I criticize the government of Israel everywhere I go. When I speak here in South Africa, when I speak in Europe, when I speak in America, wherever I go, I speak against the Israeli government because I think the Israeli government is making dramatic mistakes, is responsible for this disaster, is responsible for the failures, is responsible for the fact that there are messianic groups within the Israeli cabinet which are absolutely lunatic in terms of what they desire for the state of Israel.
Yeah.
But America supports the state of Israel, the people of Israel, and I'm grateful to President Biden for giving this support.
Final question.
We are facing a network of hatred by the extreme Islamic countries, as Iran is the upfront, but so many others. We definitely need support. But at the same time, we need to address ourselves to the issues. And the most important thing is to embark on a momentum of peace negotiations. End the war, bring all the hostages back, and embark on peaceful negotiations.
In this last question, I'm actually going to ask it in twofold, basically two questions in one. You said that Mr. Netanyahu has to resign. Who do you believe would be the successor, the person with the leadership skills to replace Netanyahu? At the same time, do you believe that South Africa did the right thing by going to the International Court of Justice late last year to argue genocide?
Look, number one, the first question is, I wish I could tell you, but I don't know. So that's very short. About the other thing, the South African, I am very sorry for the initiative of South Africa because Israel didn't commit war crimes. Israel was fighting against the terrorist organizations, and the terrorist organization is embedded in the most densely populated urban center in the world. And there is no way that you can reach out for the killers if you're not going through that population. And this is a terrible event and a tragedy. But there was never any time throughout this year or before that any Israeli government ordered the Israeli soldiers to shoot indiscriminately against Palestinians. Never happened. And also, I'll tell you something. When I was vice prime minister, and subsequently at the time that I started to be prime minister, the president of South Africa was Mbeki. Now, I don't want to go into your politics. I don't know what kind of rivalries you have, what kind of memories you have. I can tell you one thing. When I came to South Africa, I didn't know Mbeki, and he didn't know me. and the relations between Israel and South Africa were very bad. We set hours and discussed these issues, and as a result, we have improved the relations between South Africa and Israel a great deal. I wish that the South African leadership would have been ready to sit down with Israelis. Okay, you don't want to sit with Netanyahu, I don't want to sit with him either. But if you would, if your leaders would have been ready to sit with Israelis, there are many misunderstandings and differences of opinion, and sometimes controversies could have been sorted out and maintain good relations between our two countries. We have a history of great relations with South Africa, and we wish that these relations would be restored.
Thank you very much for your time, the former Prime Minister.
Thank you very much.
Thanks indeed for your time. Bye-bye. Thank you. He is the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Olmert. Very interesting views.